Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce us from Group 3, namely Anggun Dila Puspita, Angelina Ginting, and Jana Manda, want to presentation our material about fitting design to situation.
Two views of organizational effectiveness. A number of researchers have studied the relation between structure and performance, typical by comparing the structure of high and low performance firms. Their tendency has been to attribute effectiveness to the fit between certain design parameters and some situal factor. For example, the size of the organizational, the technical system it uses, or the nature of its environment. The study led us to two important and distinct conclusions about structural effectiveness. The first we can label the congruence hypothesis. Effective structuring requires a close fit between the situational factor and the design parameters. In other words, the successful organizational design its structure to match its situation. And the second we can call the configuration hypothesis. Effective structuring requires an internal consistency among the design parameters. The successful organization develops a logical configuration and the design parameters. Age and size. We have a considerable body of evidence on the effect of age and size on structure, most of which we can chapter in 5 hypotheses. Two conquer age then 3 size. After discussing age hypothesis, we shall see that we can clarify and synthesize them by looking at organizational aging and growth not as linear progresses, but as a sequence of distinct transition between stages of development. Hypothesis 1. The older the organization, the more formalized its behavior. Here we encounter the we've seen it all before syndrome. As in the case of the Terunet College, professor whose students follow his lecture word for word from the netbook prefers student of the government clerk who informs you that your seemingly unique problem is covered in volume XXII. Page paragraph precedent set in as organization age all other things being equal. They report their work with the result in becomes more predictable and so more easily and logical formalism. Hypothesis 2. Structure reflect the act of founding of the industry. This curious hypothesis is suggested in the work of Arthur Stinchcomb. We word this hypothesis factual in terms of the fitness of the research, given that many alts reflects ideas of organizational effectiveness. They may just as will have been worded prescriptively. For example, the order of organization, the more its behavior should be formalized, or the more effective it will be, its behavior is formalized, assuming in all cases, of course, no matter what the wording, that all other factors remain the same, an assumption that will prove important later as we move into the discussion of configuration. Hypothesis 3. The larger the organization, the more elaborate its structure, that is, the more specialized its text, the more differentiated its units, and the more developed its administrative component. This relationship would seem to spring from job specialization from an organization increasing ability to divide its labor as it adds employees and increases its volume of output. Hypothesis 4. The larger the organization, the larger the average size of its units. Of visual, as an organization adds new employers, it must eventually for new units, aids with a new manager, and it must also add more managers over these managers. In other words, it must elaborate its administrative hierarchy. Not so obvious is that this elaboration is moderated by an increase in average unit size. Hypothesis 5. The larger the organization, the more formalized its behavior. Just as the older organization formalized what has seen before, so the larger organization formalizes what is often. Listen, mister, I have heard that story at least 5 times today. Just find out the form like its size. More formally, the larger our organization, the more behavior repeat themselves. As a result, the more predictable they become, and so the greater the propensity to formalize them. Furthermore, with its greater size comes greater internal confusion and perhaps lower morale owing to impersonalism. Stages of structural development. William Starbuck acquires this point eloquently back in with his metamorphosis models, which viewed growth not as a smooth, continuous process, but as one marked by abrupt and discrete change in conditional and structure. Change more often than daggers. There's transition bring fundamentally new ways to define the organization work and to coordinate its tasks. Just the pupa sit in cocoon to emerge a butterfly. So, to thus the organic structure has a informal relationship to emerge as a bureaucracy, hardly as delightful a metamorphosis. Technical system. Technology is a broad term that has been used and abused in many contexts. We prefer to avoid it. For its broadening meaning, essentially, the knowledge base of the organization, we shall use the term complexity and discuss it under environment. Here we shall focus on a northwards interpretation of technology, namely the instruments used in the operating core to transform the input into outputs, which we shall call the technical system of the organization.
Woodward's study of unit, mass, and process production. Woodward found some market relationship between these three systems of production and various of the design parameters, specifically in moving from unit to mass to process production. The span of control of the chief executive increased. The span of control of middle managers decreased. The ratio of managers to non-managers increased from an average of 1 to 23 to 1 to 16 to 1 to 8. Also, their qualification rose. Our process organization had more graduate, more managerial training, and more promotion from within. The ratio of clerical and administrative personnel to production personnel, indirect salary to hourly paid, increased from 1 to 1 to 4 to 1 to 9 to 1. The numbers of levels of management in the production department increased. Moreover, the span of control of the first line superior was highest in mass production firm, about 48 compared with about 13 in process firm and 23 in unit production firm. The mass production firm were bureaucratic in structure, whereas the process and unit production firm tend to be organically structured. But what distinguishes this study from the others is not that random observation, but the way Woodward used them to paint an integrated picture of their distinctly different organizational structure associated with the three technical systems. Unit production. The manufacture individual unit, prototypes, and large equipment in stage exhibit a number of characteristics in common, most important because their output were ad hoc or non-standard. The unit producer operating work could likewise not be standard or for analyzed, and so their structure were organic. Mass production. If the structure of the unit production firm were shaped by the non-standard nature of their technical system, those of the mass product were shaped by the standard nature of theirs. Here, mass standardized production led to formalism behavior, which led to all the characteristics of the classic bureaucracy. Operating work was routine, unskilled, and highly formalized. Such work required little direct supervision, resulting in wide span of control of for the first line supervisor. Process production informs both for the continued production of what substance would found another structure again what would cause that firm to be different from the mass producer, and why should Han describe them a problem solver concurrent only with expectation. The answer seems to lie in a metamorphosis of structure when in technical system become so regulating that it approach the state of automation. Mass production is often highly mechanic, but if outward findings are a fair good, sell down to the point of automation, the result is work that is highly regular, simple, routine, and dull requiring a large contingent of unskilled operation. With this finding in mind, we can now present three basic hypotheses about the relationship between structure and technical system. Hypothesis 6. The more regulating the technical system, the more formalized and operating work, and the more bureaucratic the structure of the operating car. Hypothesis 7. The more sophisticated difficult to understand the technical system, the more elaborate the non-operating structure. Specifically, the large and more professional the support staff, the greater the selective decentralization to the staff, and the greater the use of liaison devices, the coordinate the work of that staff. Hypothesis 8. The automation of the operating car transforms a bureaucratic administrative structure in an organic one. We have already discussed the hypothesis at some length in terms of word process procedure. Organization dominant numerically by unskilled operators doing routine work are riddled with interpersonal conflict. As Woodward notes, thus stem from the inherent incompatibility of the social and technical system. Often, what is good for production is simple not good for the producer. Environment. We have so far discussed the influence on structure of factor intrinsic to the organization itself, its age, its size, and the technical system it use in its operating car. But every organization also exists in a milieu to which it must respond when designing its structure. Now, consider situational factor associated with the milieu first, the characteristic of the general environment, then specific aspect of the system of power faced by the organization. Stability. An organization environment can range from stable to dynamic from that of the worker whose customer demand the champagne sculptures decide after decide to that of the detective squad that never know what to expect next. Complexity. An organization environment here its technology can range from simple to complex. From that the manufacturer of folding box who produce his simple product with simple knowledge to the of the space agency that must utilize knowledge from a host for of the most advanced scientific fields to produce extremely complex output.
Finally, an organization's environment can range from munificent to hostile. From that of a prestige surgeon who picks and chooses his patents, through that of a construction firm that must bid on all its contracts, to that of an army fighting a war. Hypothesis 9. The more dynamic the environment, the more organic the structure. In peacetime, or well back from the battlefield in wartime, armies tend to be highly bureaucratic institutions, with heavy emphasis on training, formal drills, and ceremony, close attention being paid to discipline. On the battlefield, at least the modern one, there is the need for greater flexibility, and so the structure becomes less rigid. Hypothesis 10. The more complex the environment, the more the centralized the structure. Before proceeding with discussion of this hypothesis, it will be useful to clarify the distinction between environmental stability and complexity. Conceptually, it is not difficult to distinguish between these two dimensions of environment. The disc roller easily comprehends his game, yet he cannot predict its outcome. His environment is simple but dynamic, so too is that of the dress manufacturer, who easily comprehends his market and technologies, yet has no way to predict style or color from one season to the next. In contrast, the clinical surgeon spends years trying to learn his or her complicated word, yet undertakes it only when rather certain of its consequence. Hypothesis 11. The more diversified the organization's markets, the greater the propensity for it to split into market-based units, given favorable economies of scale. Here, we propose a relationship between a third environmental variable market diversity and a third decide parameter, the basis for grouping units. Hypothesis 11 indicates that the organization that can identify identically different markets, products, or services, geographical regions, or clients will be predisposed to split itself into high-level units on this basis, and to give its control of a wide range of the decisions affecting its own markets. This amounts to what we call in Chapter 5 limited vertical decentralization, a good deal of the decision-making power being delegated to the managers of the market units. In simple terms, diversification breeds divisionalization. Hypothesis 12. Extreme hostility in its environment drives any organization to centralize its structure temporarily. Again, we can explain this in terms of our coordinating mechanism. Direct supervision is the fast and tightest means of coordination. Only one brain is involved.
All members of the organizations know exactly where to send information. No time is wasted in debate. Authority for action is clearly defined. One leader makes and coordinates all the decisions. Hypothesis 13. Disparities in the environment encourage the organization to decentralize selectively to differentiate work constellation. No organization has ever existed in an environment uniformly dynamic, complex, diverse, or hostile across its entire range. But the organization need not respond to every contingency in its environment either. Some are exigent, demanding response, others are placid, requiring none. An organizational type for its of four environments. Our discussion of the environment again support our contention that we learn more by focusing on distinct types of structure found under specific conditions than by stressing continuous relationship between structural and situational variables. Hypothesis 9 and 10, although initially stated in terms of continuous relationship, seem more powerful when used to generate specific types of structures found in specific kind of environments. Hypothesis 14. The greater the external control of the organization, the more centralized and formalized its structure. A number of studies of both public and private organizations have provided evidence that outside control of them, whether directly by specific owners or indirectly, say by a major supplier on whom they are dependent, tends to concentrate their decision-making powers at the top of their hierarchies and to encourage greater than usual reliance on rules and regulation for internal control. All this in fact seems logical enough. Hypothesis 15. The power needs of the members tend to generate structures that are excessively centralized. All members of the organization typically seek power if not to control others, at least to control the decisions that affect their own work. The managers of the strategic epics promote centralization in both the vertical and horizontal dimension. The managers of the middle line promote vertical decentralization, at least down to their hour level, and horizontal centralization to keep power within the line structure. The analysis and the support staff favor horizontal decentralization to draw power away from the line managers, and the operator seek vertical and horizontal decentralization all the way down to the operating core. Hypothesis 16. Fashion favors the structure of the way and of the culture, sometimes even when inappropriate. Steenkampe's research, discussed in Hypothesis 2, suggests that there is such a thing as the structure of the day, that is, the one favored by industries found in a given period. But his research also showed that structure transcend periods. In other words, that some organizations retain structure favored in previous periods. The complication of this is that when a new structure comes along, it is appropriate for some organizations but not for others.
Amazing!
Thank you for your attention. We are from Group 3. Sorry there are errors in writing or pronunciation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.